Highways are usually seen as safe and predictable, but there are places where strange and terrifying things happen that defy logic. Tonight on Horror Radio, we bring you 3 disturbing tales from lonely highways. Stories based on real experiences that will make you think twice before you hit the road at night. Prepare yourself, because these stories are full of shocking revelations and terrifying encounters with things that should have stayed in the dark. Story 1. The Lost Passenger. Jacob, a young man returning home after a long vacation, was driving down a deserted highway in the middle of the night. The road was dark, with only his headlights cutting through the thick fog and heavy rain. There were no other cars in sight, just the sound of his tires splashing through puddles and the steady rhythm of the wipers. Suddenly, his headlights caught something on the side of the road. A figure. A woman in a white dress, drenched from the rain, was standing there looking lost and vulnerable. Jacob, startled, slowed the car and pulled over. Without thinking too much, he rolled down the window. "Can I help you?" he asked. The woman didn't respond, but instead slowly moved toward the car and got into the back seat. Her face was partially covered by wet hair, and she didn't say a word. Jacob hesitated but continued driving. For the next 20 minutes, there was complete silence in the car. The fog outside thickened, and the cold air seemed to creep in, making the interior feel uncomfortably chilly. Jacob glanced in the rearview mirror, but the woman remained motionless, her face hidden. Just as he began to feel uneasy, she spoke in a soft voice, "Stop here." Shaken, Jacob obeyed and stopped the car by a dilapidated house at the side of the road. The house was old, with broken windows and ivy crawling up its walls, giving it a dark and eerie vibe. Jacob turned around to thank her, but when he looked back at the back seat, it was empty. The woman was gone. Confused and frightened, Jacob quickly started the car again and drove away. When he reached the nearest town and shared the story with the locals, one of them told him, "That woman died in a crash near that spot years ago." Jacob then realized that the woman he had given a ride to wasn't just lost. She had been searching for someone to take her home from the other side. Story 2. The Pursuer. Samantha, a young mother, had just finished her night shift at the hospital and was driving home along a quiet, dark highway. The road was empty, and the silence was almost suffocating. She drove cautiously, but after a while, she noticed something strange. A car had appeared behind her, and it was tailgating her closely. At first, Samantha thought maybe she was just driving too slowly, but no matter how fast she went, the car remained right on her bumper, flashing its high beams at her. The lights from the other car were blinding, making her uncomfortable and scared. She tried switching lanes, but the car followed her every move, staying unnervingly close. Heart racing, Samantha tried to lose the car by speeding up, but the driver behind her was relentless. She felt trapped. At one point, she decided to pull into a gas station up ahead to try and get away from the stalker. She parked the car quickly, grabbed her son, Timmy, from the back seat, and rushed into the station, yelling for help. As she entered, she looked out the window and saw the car following her had also stopped. The driver got out, and to her horror, he wasn't after her. He was after something far more terrifying. He opened the back door of her car and pulled out a man dressed in a mask and gloves. "He's been hiding in your back seat this whole time," the driver yelled. The police later explained that the masked man had been on a rampage, hiding in cars while people drove unsuspecting. He had been caught in the act of following his next victim, Samantha, who had narrowly avoided a deadly encounter, thanks to the stranger who had been tailing her. The roadblock. Mike, an experienced truck driver, often made late-night runs through deserted highways and barren landscapes. One night, as he was cruising through a particularly isolated stretch of road, he spotted something strange ahead. Someone standing in the middle of the highway, waving their arms. At first, Mike slowed down, unsure if the person was in distress or just lost. As he got closer, he could see the man was wearing ragged old clothes, and his posture was odd, almost desperate. Mike wasn't sure what to make of it. He rolled down his window to ask if the man needed help. The man told Mike that his car had broken down and he needed a ride to the nearest town. But there was something off about the way he spoke. His smile was unnervingly wide, and his eyes were too eager. Feeling uneasy, Mike told the man he couldn't help and tried to drive away. But when he looked in his rearview mirror, he saw the same man standing even further up the road, right next to a car that Mike had never seen before. Mike's heart began to race. He stepped on the gas, not wanting to find out what the man was really after. As he passed the spot, he noticed something terrifying. The man was no longer alone. There was a figure in the shadows, hiding near the side of the road, watching him drive by. Mike kept going without looking back, hoping to reach the next town as quickly as possible. The next day, Mike reported the strange encounter to the local sheriff. The sheriff revealed that the man Mike had seen wasn't alive. He had died in a car accident years ago, and since then, he had been spotted on the same stretch of highway, wandering, waiting for the next victim to stop and help. The sheriff had heard many similar reports over the years. It was said that the spirit of the man would continue to haunt the road until someone acknowledged him. Highways may seem like simple routes from one place to another, but some are filled with dark memories, lost souls, and things that should remain in the shadows. So next time you drive down a desolate road at night, remember to keep an eye out for the strange and eerie occurrences that might just be waiting for you. If these stories have chilled you, subscribe to Horror Radio and share your own terrifying encounters. Maybe one day, your story will be told on the airwaves too.